I'm Dr. Rachel Hastings. I'm here to talk to you today about critical performative pedagogy. Stop! That's how we're starting these days? Is that how we're starting speeches these days? What happened to opening words, an attention getter, a hook, something? You just jumped right in. You could benefit from a hook and a smile. Smile, smile, smile. Well, what should I use as a hook? For real? For real, for real? How many times have we been through this before? Startling statistic, personal testimony, a poem, a lyric, strong quotation, literal or figurative example, a rhetorical question. Don't use a rhetorical question. Nah. Don't do it. Don't do it, you don't wanna do it. Ooh, tell them that story about your first time. Isn't that a little intimate? Now that's juicy. It's juicy. I'm scared. Just do it. Come on. You're the communication expert. You can't go in and start with your name. It's ASU, for heaven's sakes. My earliest memory of the police having some type of impact on my family was when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I went to the store with my dad. It was a Sunday morning, really early, and we were going to get orange juice. And we were only a couple of blocks away from where we lived with my grandparents at that time. And I remember the police pulling us over and arresting my father. The police officer trying to soothe me, appease me, make sure, calm me down as I waited for my mother to come and pick me up. And I remember her riding a bike. And she rode the bike to pick up the van and me, and put the bike in the van and drove us home. That's my earliest memory of the police having some type of interaction with my father. In 2014, when I became a loved one to an incarcerated individual, I really began to focus my conversation on this cycle of criminalization between the preschool to prison pipeline, the police relations, and the prison system. All of those things are linked through policy and through practice. When it became central to my life, and I'm not going to tell you the story of the person who became incarcerated. It's not my story to tell, although that happening in our lives definitely impacted me. Now, that person didn't want me to be their advocate. That person didn't want me to go out and march in the streets and yell their names and try to figure out a way to attack the system. That person wanted to make this problem go away quietly because there was a lot of shame that was involved in being wrapped up into the prison system, and into police-like conflict and relationships. And so for me, it was a moment where I really had to quiet all of the skills that I had and figure out a way to channel them in a different direction.
They asked that we join them in protesting in the street, to bring our signs and our bullhorns, to shout in anger at the media while military tanks throw tear gas at us. They believe protesting is the most persuasive means of delivering our message to those in power. This is how we understand our opponent's position. It seems pretty clear. Our response is also pretty clear. In fact, in the next 7 minutes or so, our opposing case can be reduced down to one simple question for the nigga society. Didn't we already make these arguments? I am a black human. 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 I am an African, but they call me nigga. I hail from the West Indies. These are black stories. Black like Muhammad Ali, knockout black. Like sister to the Black Power movement black. Like Leroy Jones naming himself Amiri Baraka, Revolutionary Theater black. Like I know the ground that I stand on thanks to August Wilson black. These stories were like the Black House poetry flowing through the lungs of Sonia Sanchez black. Like Intezat Kushan. So when we talk about black culture in the United States, we have to be mindful not to start with slavery as the conceptual moment of our existence. Now, listen, we're not saying fuck the police. More like, we made these arguments when Rodney King was beaten in 92 and the police got off. Now, I know y'all think we won that back in 94 when OJ got off, but we didn't, okay? We can't count that. They asked us to protest when Amadou Diallo was shot and killed, when Oscar Grant was shot and killed, when Trayvon Martin was shot and killed, when Eric Garner was shot and killed, when Tamar Rice was shot and killed, when Michael Brown was shot and killed, when Baltimore was burned to the ground. We made these protest arguments. This is what Amiri Baraka called the changing sand. When he wrote Revolutionary Theater, he encouraged black people to get up, stand up, fight for your rights, to use the stage as a space to crack open our consciousness, to teach others how to rebuild. That is our position as the opposition in today's debate. We, the recorders, will riot on stage for the world that we wish to live in.
Your partner got killed on a routine traffic stop.
I just want to go home.
Your partner got killed on a routine traffic stop.
I just want to go home.
Your partner got killed on a routine traffic stop.
I just want to go home.
Your partner got killed on a routine traffic
I
stop.
just want to go home.
Your father isn't the only one. Your brother isn't the only one. Your son isn't the only one. Your husband isn't the only one. You are the norm. 1 in 3 African American men will go to prison at some point during their lifetime, which means that the women who love them will be impacted, which means that the families who love them will be impacted, which means that each and every one of us in this room will be impacted by the epidemic of these missing black men. Let us remember that.
How you doing, Malachi?
I'm good.
So, tell me how you feeling about this particular moment?
At least when I was in Guantanamo, it was like, this is exactly how it feels when you're going up to a gate to talk to a prisoner, because you're like, okay, what does this guy have? And all those thoughts are coming into your head all at once. And so you don't know if, because I was trying to be slow, but I couldn't, because it's just like, I want to get there already. So it was hard to process it all, I guess, like in a realistic, kind of like actually hearing the voices kind of thing.
Everybody close your eyes. Put your hands at your side. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Well, the universe has a way of definitely inviting what you need when you need it into your life. And Michael Bradley came into my life about the same time that this individual went to prison.
Michael Bradley was interested in sharing his story with youth as a means to be able to keep people off the streets. And I said, okay, well, why don't I gather up a group of students and let's read your work? And we did. And while we were reading his autobiography, Michael was really inspired to reach out to other inmates and ask them to share their stories as well. So he hosted a contest on the inside. And that contest collected a number of different writings from a number of different inmates. And we were lucky to collaborate with them and create what now is a literary anthology by the name of Dirty Tears.
Hey guys, I'm Mark, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 books in order to broaden your understanding of mass incarceration. So the first book I have for you guys is Understanding Mass Incarceration, A People's Guide to the Key to Civil Rights Struggle of Our Time by James Kilgore. It touches upon the
So every semester I do this activity where I ask the students to run a campaign on mass incarceration, and we read Dirty Tears as a collective. Actually, what I do is I challenge them to use the book as a text for an oral interpretation project. So they choose a poem or an essay of their choice and they interpret it. They ask themselves, what does the author mean? How would the author say this? How can I deliver the message and the meaning of this particular story by both honoring what's on the page and saying it exactly as, I think it is meant to be, and helping myself to understand how powerful words can really be when you use your body as a vehicle for sharing somebody else's message.
I'm going to be reciting a poem called Stolen Dreams from the book Dirty Tears by Lorenzo Fossil.
Freedom taken, life forsaken, still.
Who Are You? By Lorenzo Fossil.
Distortion comes from within. Love, respect, loyalty, courage.
To show them that there's still hope in another day.
Who am I? How would I describe myself?
Fearless and black, finally leaving their mother's protective shell.
Painful scars, mental strains, waste chains, concrete walls.
Family, money, and friends. I would foresee being gang member would bring.
Hope tasted questions, why then I cried. There's still another way to live.
Contestant 2. Recognizing these black grounds as instructions helps us to see alternative approaches for achieving social change. Y'all can label this section, them niggas protest in the streets. We, the recorders, riot on stage.
Minneapolis on fire. Protesters leaving an auto parts store in flames. Others seen looting a local Target.
Tonight was a different night of protesting.
All of it after demonstrators approached one of the city's police precincts.
We're about to lose the front of the precinct if we don't move this crowd out of the front.
Officers in riot gear tried to maintain order.
You can see the smoke bombs in the distance, and police have been firing pepper spray to try and disperse this crowd. Hundreds of protesters had gathered here, and now police are trying to push them back to keep the peace.
They gathered hours before, furious at the death of 46-year-old George Floyd.
When is it really gonna change? When is it really gonna stop?
Well, I'll chime in here and I'll just leave you all with the opening of my article. The last thing that my father told me before I went to college was, don't forget about the black man. Right now, in this particular day and age, black men are being killed at the hands of the police at a disproportionate rate that is definitely impacting our family dynamic and the ways in which we create intercultural relationships with people who are non-black.
We contend that the cycle must be broken, that the same must be changed, and that the stage is the best tool for fighting a revolution, or to say this in a more invitational way. We accept our opponent's contentions. However, we are deeply offended that these niggas would request that we become protesters. We are a nation of recorders, which means we capture the details, which means we archive the moment, which means we are the librarians of yesterday's memories, which means we are the dream makers of tomorrow's dream catchers, which means we are artists, which means we are word warriors, which sometimes means we have to be dream killers to crack open your consciousness to another reality. And with that, we yield our time.